So what is this song about? See, you have all heard about the Sagar Manthan, that there was a Samudra Manthan in which the Rakshas and the Devas, they churned the sea and all the goodies came out. So everybody was happy getting all those goodies, Airavat, Dharti, Parijat, Puspa and all these things, everybody got. But as a byproduct, what came out was halal, the poison. And when the poison came, all these things, goodies were all about to be neutralized and it was going to finish the universe. So people, the devatas and asuras, they prayed before Lord Shiva that please help us. So Shiva came and he swallowed that poison. But it was such a poison that if he will spit, the whole universe will perish, and if he swallows, he will perish. So he kept it in his neck. So he became Nilkant. And to that he put the snakes and all that. So that was the Sagar Manthan. So that was the basis. That is why we have invoking the blessings of Shiva. So that is why the song is based on Shiv Tanda. So the slokas you said are from the Shiv Tanda we have taken. So now we are talking of Prithvi Manthan. So when we are talking of Prithvi Manthan, we are again going through the second process of churning now. So it started with the Industrial Revolution in the 17th century, and we started getting all this iron ore, aluminum, everything, whatever. So we are just petroleum, coal, everything we are extracting. And the poison that is coming out is our pollution, this global one. I'll come to that. And now we are searching that some Shiva will come to absorb that. So in this song, what we are saying that the lady who is the main actress who is working, she is actually working both as Shiva and the present generation. It is representing us, the humanity. So it is saying that it is threatened by this thing, so it is trying to save this thing, what to do. And this small child who is with the woman is the next generation. So the present generation is trying to protect the next generation from the three demons who are threatening in this song, you say. And the three demons are, number one is your pollution. Number two, our unsustainable lifestyle. And number three is the global warming due to the climate change. So these three demons are trying to they are finish the whole world, this system. So the lady is praying to Lord Shiva, she is praying, and Shiva is saying that already the one halal is already in his neck. So then finally our generation is praying, either you save us or give us the strength to save this. So the Shiva which is shown here is actually depicted by the same actress. This shows that the Shiva is within us. So we have to save ourselves. So finally, if you see at the end, she gives the sword to the woman, so she drives away the three demons. So this is how, if we at all can save ourselves from the poison of this second journey, it has to be us, that we have to do that. So this is the theme of the song. So my talk, which I will be taking, I will be telling on these three demons on this thing. As I told you, let's first come to global warming. Why global warming? All of you are physics students, so I don't have to explain much. See, when we have started this industrial revolution, what exactly we did? The paradigm shift was that we switched over to use of the fossil fuel. So we started either coal or gas or petroleum. So we started burning them. And you know, the earth is surrounded by an atmosphere. And atmosphere has greenhouse gases. Because of the greenhouse gases, it keeps the surface of the earth warm and cozy. Had this atmosphere not been there, the temperature of the earth would be, let's say, 45 degrees in the daytime and minus 50 degrees in the night, something like that. So it would be a dead planet like in other planets. Because we are having the atmosphere and the greenhouse gases trap a part of the energy, solar energy that is falling on the surface of the earth, and release it gradually in the night. So the earth is kept warm, cozy, and civilization and everything is possible. Life is possible on earth because of this. But this is a very delicate balance of nature. If the concentration of these greenhouse gases will increase, more energy will be trapped. So Earth will become warmer. If concentration becomes less, then less energy will be trapped and Earth will become very cold. So now what is happening after 17th century? Gradually, more and more energy is getting trapped by the Earth. So it is Earth is becoming warmer because of carbon dioxide. Because when we are burning fossil fuel, it is releasing carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. And other greenhouse gases are also linked to it, that is methane and or water vapor and all those things. So all are linked. So the concentration of the greenhouse gases is increasing in the atmosphere. But for the first centuries, there was no impact because the increasing temperature was so minimal that it was never felt. You see, the first time we started feeling that something is going wrong was something in the 1970s. When you had this Rio conference, then this Stockholm, people started talking something is going wrong. You will see all the environmental laws of the world are in the last half of the last century. Before that, there was no environment. In fact, in our constitution, there was no word called environment. There was no word called conservation. There was a word called protection. There was no conservation. When Wildlife Protection Act was made, it was called Wildlife Protection Act. It was not called conservation because there was no word called conservation. There was no ministry called environment. Earlier, there was a forest ministry was a part of agriculture ministry. Only environment ministry came only in the later part of last century. So environment is a very new subject. It has come after 1970s when we started feeling there is something wrong. Something is going wrong. And then people started talking of global warming. And when we talked of global warming, others said, particularly the industrialists, the right-wing people, they started, these are all nonsense. The left-wing started saying that this is all by the rich people to rob us from this thing. So people poo-pooed the idea that there is nothing called a global warming. But people started feeling, people started discussing. And in fact, our country has been from the beginning, has been a pioneer in this. Mrs. Gandhi was the first. She attended both conferences, Stockholm and she was one of the leaders there. So then researchers also got into this. And then they found that the temperature of the earth, the average temperature of the earth, which was 14.5 degrees Celsius, has risen by 0.5 degrees in the last century, particularly the last of the last century. That is, in 100 years, from 1900 till 2000, the earth's average temperature rose by half a degree Celsius. Now what has happened? Then people started, this to people, how to do, what to act there. In this century, from 2000 to 2015, in this 15 years, for 15 years of this century, the earth's temperature, average temperature, has risen by 0.61 degrees Celsius. So what temperature risen by 0.5 degrees in 100 years, we managed to exceed that in 15 years. And it is anticipated that at this rate, the temperature rise will be by 2 degrees by 2050 and 4 to 6 degrees by 2100. Why? Because when the Industrial Revolution started, it was only confined to Europe, USA, Australia, and some other places. But now, every country is in the process of development. Development means necessarily burning of fossil fuel. So, the rate of release of this greenhouse gases has gone up quite considerably. And now anticipating that despite all conservation measures, the temperature rise will be by 2 degrees by 2050 and by 4 to 6 degrees by 2001. Now the question, so what's the big deal? Let it rise, we'll accept that. We have to be living with rise. The problem is that with our present technical and scientific knowledge, we cannot handle a temperature rise of 2 degrees Celsius over and above what was there in the pre-industrial world. If the temperature rise goes beyond 2 degrees Celsius, then situation will be such that it will be beyond the control of human being unless something spectacular happens in scientific. That first is that we have already started feeling the melting of the ice caps, rising of the sea level, this all drying up of the glaciers. So this is why now everybody is concerned that we have to somehow restrict. Now it's a consensus in the United Nations in the forum that we have to restrict the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But by 2015 we have already exceeded by 1.1 degree. So we are only left with a very small window of 0.4 degrees. And we are not really doing anything. We are only seeing, even if we go there, like suppose in this year's climate change, our country has said that we'll achieve zero carbon will go carbon in 2070. It's quite far. So when we set off 2050, suppose the temperature goes beyond 2 degrees, and many people say that okay, the scientists have made a very fantastic projections. Even if it's 2 degrees, we'll manage. Maybe we'll manage. But you never know what will happen in other places. I remind you of all the young people will be saying. You might have seen the Olympics, not this last Olympics, last to last Olympics. There was a wrestler, weightlifter from a small country called Kiribati. It's an island country, it's a Kiribati. So he participated in that wrestling and it was no good. He was eliminated in the first round. So he came and danced after losing in the very first round. He gave a dance on the podium. So people asked, what is the problem? People no, I want to draw the attention of international community that my country is going to be submerged in a few years' time. So please do something. Otherwise, where do we go? So if you see all those Pacific and small islands, those will be gone just before us. All of us. It would not be, it's not a question of some 100 years or 50 years or something. It will be just a matter of a decade or something. Many of these things. Now you'll see many of these islands, the rich people, they are purchasing land in other countries. Thank you, sir. Because they cannot, those things will be. So all these things will be. So this is going to be impact of the climate change. If you go to say, suppose Ladakh, I had been to Leh last year. So you can see how the glaciers are receding. You have seen Kedarnath and all those things, the glacier bursts, so many things. Why this frequency has become so regular? Even say in Odisha, in 99 we had a super cyclone. Now you see how many cyclones we have had. Only thing is that because the Odisha has a very strong and robust disaster management policy, I'm proud to say that I have written that policy. We are now able to handle these disasters. But you look at the frequency of disasters almost every year. So can we withstand this thing? What is happening? Now they are saying that, I think a few days back only there was an article. There are some, which are the countries, which are the places which will going to submerge under sea in a matter of 30 to 50 years. Paradip is one of those. And they have identified, I think, some 20 or some cities, including Paradip. And this will go completely under the sea. So what we are seeing, this is just before us. It may not be, we may not have winter, but actually the young boys and girls sitting in the back benches, it will happen in their lifetime. So this, one of the things, this climate change. So what we have been doing, I'll just give a thing, I don't want to give all the negative things. In 2015, this UNFCCC, that is the United Nations Conference on this climate change, Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi has attended that. So he said that India is committed to this thing. Because that is one thing I'll tell you. President Trump in that thing he said, no, we don't believe in this climate change. We want to, America would like to withdraw. You see, America is a person, they are the greatest emitters of carbon dioxide. So they wanted to withdraw. And America alone withdrawing amounts to 0.2 degrees. And now fortunately, America is back in the gold zone. So in the 2015 climate change summit, our stand of India was like this. They said that we are a developing country. We cannot stop our development. We will have to go with our development agenda, but we will be responsible development. Because they are saying that if you see the per capita carbon emission of, let's say, USA is around 15 to 16, 17 degrees, 17 tons per person per year. That is the thing. Europe is also around that. Australia is high because everywhere they travel by plane because they don't have any road travel is there. Compared to that, India is only at that one time was between 1 to 2 per capita. But the question is that India in this period, the carbon emission per person per ton, per person per year was 1 ton. It has doubled. Now it is 2. So with 135, 1 crore 35, 135 crore people, 1.35 billion people, when the carbon emission doubles, per capita doubles, you can imagine in absolute term what is there. As per absolute term, USA is far ahead, China is there, Russia, India comes well below. But think that the rate at which we are growing, so there are 5 countries where rate of growth is very high. Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa and China. So they are this. So India said, okay, we will use it, but we have a plan. So they said that we will sequester or absorb carbon dioxide to the tune of 3 billion tons by the year 2030. That means our system, our forests will absorb 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, not carbon dioxide, convert carbon to carbon dioxide. So 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent will absorb in our forests. This was a very, very bold and very, very ambitious statement. You see, for the plant community, or particularly the forest, are the only entity which can absorb carbon dioxide. Rest, all of it, you cannot, there is no other. They try to bury the carbon, there is a geological method. They will make carbon dioxide, trap the carbon dioxide and bury it under the earth. But it will anyway escape. So, the only thing is that photosynthesis is the only process by which carbon dioxide can be absorbed. So, what in all photosynthesis process? A tree that absorbs carbon dioxide releases oxygen and converts that carbon into biomass and stores in the body. So, the carbon dioxide is converted to biomass through the process of photosynthesis by all types of. But a forest or a tree is absorbing carbon dioxide as long as it is growing. When a tree is decaying, it releases more carbon dioxide than it absorbs. Similarly, a forest absorbs carbon dioxide as long as it is healthy. When the forests start degrading, the entire forest becomes a carbon source than a carbon sink. So, luckily, or what you can say, I can say proudly, India is among the top 10 countries in the world where not only we are in the top 10 area-wise the forested area country, but also we are in the top 10 countries where the forests are carbon sink. Most of the countries, the forests are actually carbon source. The forests are degraded. And when the Prime Minister announced, our forests were absorbing 1.93 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. So he said that we will do things, we will take measures that this will go to 3 billion tons. Not only the India's forests are seen, despite all what you see, there has been a lot of interest in that. Our forests are also growing. So annually, there is a sequestration of carbon dioxide to the tune of about 72 million tons, or 93 million tons in the sun. And at this rate, by 2030, our growth will be about 2.3, 2.4 that dimensions. So we'll still fall short of it will be 1.93 In fact, sorry, I am confusing the jumble of the figures again. So we will be left short of the target 2.5 to 3 billion tons by 0.6 billion tons to 1.1 billion tons. So that is a thing which I during my introduction. We said that through catchment area treatment, we can go for that. So because all these rivers and everything, those come from the catchments. So if we do the catchment, it's not plantation won't solve. Because let me tell you, when I am talking the absorption of the carbon dioxide, one would get a feeling that the trees are the storehouse of carbon dioxide. No. In a forest, more than 50% carbon is stored in the soil. About 30-35% of carbon is stored in the body of the trees. So when you are going for a plantation, you are only targeting the biomass stored in the tree. But the main carbon, that is in the humus, that is the soil, the forest soil. So I tell it everywhere, plantation can never be a substitute of natural forests. When people are saying that, okay, we'll cut down this forest and plant that many hectares, plantation can never be a substitute of forest because plantation, you are only targeting the biomass in the tree, not the soil. That will become soil, but maybe after 100 years, maybe 50 years. So natural forests, so luckily for us are seeing that there are many of our, all said and done, people do cooperate. People were saying in the conservation of forests. As a result, not only our forests are intact to a great extent, but also are in the process of enrichment. So that is why India is in the carbon sink. And in fact, there is a lot of expectations. So the expectations to the extent that you don't develop, which the country is not willing. So we are now in a very critical position. On one hand, we want everybody to be given electricity, we want everybody to be provided with all facilities, all amenities, and on the other, we want to also save the forest. This is something very critical, because once you lose forests, you cannot get it. Because the forests are generated or soil is made in geological years, and your destruction is in months. So that is where we have to look out. So this is where I say. So we are now that we have prepared an action plan how to achieve by 2030 2.5 to 3 billion tons. Hopefully, the way things are going, but we should be able to do at least 2.5. Definitely we can do, provided all our catchment treatment plans are taken care of, or we invest in. But now what is happening is that all our conservation efforts are not targeted in 5 years. Because in our democracy, it's a 5 year is our so when we talk of somebody talk about 20 years, so that becomes a bad one. So that is why we have to that impetus or that is the pressure has to come from within. The people should be out and say that okay. And now we are all feeling the pinch of it. That everybody is feeling. Why we are having more cyclones, we are having more forest fires, we are having the glaciers are receding, we are having more floods, everything. So this is the first demo that I talked of this thing in the video that I was in. Next is come to the pollution. Pollution is something that is only attributable to only one species, that is humanity, Homo sapiens. Nobody, no other species in God's creation pollutes. You see, there is nothing called a waste in nature. We are the only ones who produce waste. You go to the forest or any ecosystem, there is no waste. Everything is taken care of. There is not a single gram of waste anywhere. But we produce waste in tons every day. So that is the root cause of pollution. So pollution basically is our air pollution, water pollution. I will not go very deep into that because there is no now you see Delhi is the world's worst air polluted city. And in fact, of the 10 top most air polluted cities, number 1 is Delhi. And in the top 10, there are I think 5 or 6 Indian cities. And some East European cities, Lahore and some other. So, similarly, water pollution. You see, all our rivers are polluted. So what is the pollution? I'll just give only one aspect. I will speak on this thing. That I get a copy when So when we are talking of pollution, we are talking pollution. We basically talk of NOx, SOx, and we have that dust particles, nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides. In our country, NOx and SOx are not that bad as compared to the developed countries. Our main problem is that of particulate matters. Particulate matters that are also divided into 2 categories, PM10 and PM2.5. That is, any particles that is less than 2.5 microns, that is a PM2.5, and that is between 2.25 to 2.5 to 10 microns, that is a PM10. So what is the big deal? So if PM10 particles, suppose you say that will get into your breath, above 10 you will not breathe that. So PM10, that will get inside your breath, but you will come out. You will come out as a sneeze, when you sneeze or in the cough, that will come out. But the problem is PM2.5. PM2.5, when it gets into the lungs, it gets embedded there. It is trapped. PM2.5 doesn't come out. And PM2.5 particles are not produced through mechanical process. Those can be produced through chemical processes. Cars, all mobile things, everything. That's all chemical processes. So now, cause of concern in our country is this PM2.5. See, when PM2.5, it says it should ideally be below 50 per 50 microgram per standard square meter, something like that. So, but let's forget about limit. So, Delhi has reached 500. Now we say that 100 will be good now. But Delhi has this year, it has crossed, I think, 560. Almost everyone is now keeping air purifiers in their houses. So I in fact gone to their friend's place a few days back. So he has it records what is the air purifier. So it was showing, he put on the air purifier when we entered. So it was at that time it was 270. And once it started working, it gradually came down to 150, 120 like that. Then suddenly somebody came, so he opened the door and the reading went beyond 200. So I said, what is it? You know, why? If the outside is so polluted that if you open the door, this will go out. So, and that is they are saying that breathing Delhi's air during this winter months is equivalent to smoking 50 cigarettes. So that is the level at which we are, and now they are really saying how this air pollution is that. Similarly, now we are talking about water pollution also. So this is our second level. And the third level which I was talking about is our lifestyle. Because now our lifestyle, what Mahatma Gandhi has told that nature can provide for everybody's need, but not for every need. So now all of us are all becoming so concerned about our personal comforts and things. So we are getting into this cycle of getting more and more acquire performances. So we are very, very materialistic, and as a result we are producing more waste, wasting things, and per capita carbon dioxide consumption is going up, and you are using things which you don't need. What we are saying that all the time we don't need this, but we are always using this. All the time we don't have, so there mass transport. No doubt, everybody wants to go in their car, own cars. So in USA, unless you are traveling in a 5-liter car, people don't give you even a job interview. And you have to show that yes, that I am saying that 800cc car is must his social status gets down. So they were saying that okay, taxation is as 5,000 liter car. So this is the third thing I would like to say. You are all physics people, so presume to be very receptive and intelligent and thinking on this line. So I would say that let us all be nuclei in spreading this message that unless we invoke the Shiva inside us to absorb this poison, this will not be. Because what we are saying, I will give you the last argument. Till 1970, till 1970, whatever damage we were causing, that is human being, the mother was able to absorb it. Because earth has a tremendous power of resilience. Whatever you will do, it will refurbish itself. 1971 was the first year when they said that whatever we consumed or whatever damage we caused to the earth, it couldn't replenish and fell short by 80. That means in 365, the earth, so we were left, that means what the maximum productivity of the earth were consumed by us in 364 days. So one day was left. So this goes to our future generations. So we borrowed one day from our next generation. And then this has increased. And in 2019, this we consumed that towards the end of July. So August, September, October, November, December, 5 months. Corona had one positive thing is that so it has been pushed to August. This consumption thing has been pushed to August. But again next year we'll manage to get it back to July, mid-July. And this way what will happen by 2050, we will be consuming this thing from future, the principle which we are having, that we will be consuming before the year starts. 1st of January it will be consumed. And then we are in for trouble. And I say that what people are saying that the younger generation accusing the older generation or whatever, and without getting into this, we have only one earth, and unless we save it, we'll. And I assume, I know this is the, if human species perishes, the earth will bounce back and revive, and it will be the best place for the rest of all the species. And so we are the only species that is there. And so we have to save ourselves because no Shiva is coming. Thank you.
So, if there are any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, why a decaying forest will be a source of carbon? That's what I missed.
Excuse me?
A decaying forest,
Yeah.
a source of carbon,
Yeah.
I think it should be neutral or in some way.
Degrading forest is a source of carbon because a biological entity, it absorbs carbon dioxide to convert it to biomass. But suppose the trees are decaying, okay? But in a natural, a sustained forest, it doesn't happen because it's a system. But suppose what is our forest degrade? Suppose the soil is degraded. More than 50% carbon is in the soil. And suppose many times what is the people sweep the forest floor of all the vegetation. Thinking all the trees are standing. You will go to Baripada, Venkanal, you will see only trees, virtually nothing on the soil. Exposed soil and the trees. That is nothing. That means the trees will die their natural death. Okay. So when the forest is degrading, this means the entire system is degrading. I will give another example. I think 2019, Prime Minister announced very proudly that we have doubled the population of tiger through Project Tiger before the target. That was the target date set. So what is so important? The tiger population has been doubled. You see, in nature what happens? Tiger is the apex species. So one tiger, it's a territorial. So one tiger, for its survival, it will depend on 500 chickens, 500 chickle units. If it is a bigger animal, it will be less. So the tiger marks its boundary depending on the prey base. That is how many chickles are there, or how many sambars are there, or how many gores are there, depending. So the volume, the body mass of the prey decides the territory of the tiger. The population of the ungulates or the prey animal depends on the green material, that is the fodder, the grass, all those things. Okay. And the grass and fodder, they depend on soil and water. And there are also parallel things. There are scavengers, there are co-predators and all that. So this is the entire system. So when the tiger population doubles, means that the water, which is providing water security to the country, that is the water population, the soil has improved. Okay. So the population of tiger doubling is an indication that your environment is healthy. For example, we drove away Sundari and back in Madhya Pradesh. Why we are getting so many here? That was one of my failures, I would say, with a lot of difficulty we got it, but it has to be finally sent away. But this gives the thing, that's it. So that is how the thing, these are the indicators of the environment. One would say, in our, it is tiger, somewhere it will be snow leopard, somewhere it will be some other species. But the animals, they are in nature, they are survival. So when we are talking of this, why forests are degrading? So you remove the animals from the forest, you will automatically start degrading. Okay. Because they are the ones who manage the waste also. There is no waste, that's why in the nature. We only produce waste and gradually will finish off everything. Yeah. Yes, please.
So we are trying to create a reversible system, but we are going more and more irreversible. We are not able to get it back. But whatever you said is it's going to take time. As you said, the earth, the soil, we cannot. But why not use science to stop things at the source? We have non-renewable energies, but why not use science and technology to stop releasing things which causes this?
Right. Very correct. I would say, when you are talking about
Just add a follow-up question to what Vedant said, right? Even we can also go for the e-vehicles, right?
Yeah.
But even 2016 they have started, like by 2020 everything will be e-vehicle. But the pace at which it's going in India, especially in a city like Bangalore or a city like Bhubaneswar, it is way less compared to what the world is doing. So what is stopping us?
Yeah. No, what is stopping us? You see, when we are talking of this climate change, so for a climate strategy, there are two ways. One is mitigative, another is adaptive. To target this, so that we mitigate, that there will be no release of carbon dioxide, there is no release of this, that we mitigate. The other is adapt. Okay, that is, okay, the temperature rise will be this, so we adapt to ourselves. So our focus of the scientific research is more going towards adaptive practices. Okay. So we have to go for mitigative practices. But more importantly, we cannot allow what the nature has provided to be wasted, to go away, to be degraded. What you are saying, I am very much, people are actually working on that. But we should not allow the soil, the forest, the water that is already available with us. Okay, we will do this, in the bargain we will do that. No. You first conserve this and also do that. Okay, if necessary, absolute necessary, you can tinkle with that, but that should be the last priority. But scientific research is definitely needed, and both in mitigative and adaptive measures. This is good. You talked about e-vehicles. Yes. E-vehicle, and in fact India is now targeting for the solar energy. And I am sure in the coming 10 years there will be no, the coal mines will all become defunct. And this is the thing. And in fact, you may not have even a petrol vehicle available in the market after some years. That will happen. But the thing is that whether it will be too late. That is it. Yes.
Yeah, so there are some comments and some questions. One question, how the rising temperature causes extreme events, extreme weather events. So do we have enough understanding or modeling to predict the rising temperature, global warming that causes extreme weather?
There is a lot of research going on. If you see in weather science earlier, there was suppose you get into that, very highest level of science in solving something like 30 by 30 matrix. Maybe only a supercomputer can do that, 30 by 30 matrix. Because there are so many parameters and so many variables and so delicate balance. So that is where you have to say. But yes, only thing that can save is science.
Yeah, may I
Yeah,
just add?
sir.
In fact, this year's Nobel Prize,
Yes.
3 of them have got it. The first 2, for example, have got it for climate change and global warming. The first person, Japanese, who got it. In
Yes.
60s, he in fact told it is carbon dioxide which helps increase in the temperature of the atmosphere.
Yeah, right.
Because the infrared rays don't
Well,
pass.
that is right.
So,
My question was, yeah, temperature rising is something which is known. In fact, we are also doing some work on that one. So we have seen in the industrial area in the last 100 years, the temperature has risen about 1.5.
So that is established.
Yeah, that is well established. That is well known. Only thing so far, like how this temperature rise, causing the imbalance and causing the extreme weather events. Can I
I'll
predict
give
the
you an
current
example. I'll
parameters?
give you an example. Let's say in Himalaya, different trees grow at different altitudes. Okay. Let us say that there are two aspects. One is for southern aspect and that is the northern aspect. Northern aspect means which faces the north, southern is faces the south. So the habitation is normally in the southern aspect because it gets more sunlight, and the vegetation is on the northern aspect. And let us say, suppose the pines, blue pine, jade pine, and their associates, those grow in an altitude of let's say 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet. At 8,000, Devdar appears. Devdar is Devdar. At 12,000, 10,000 to 12,000, the fir and spruce, those will appear. After at 14,000, this that's one thing that will happen. Bhojpatra will appear. That will appear. Now suppose there is a temperature rise. The same pine will now grow at 7,000. Devdar will grow at let's say 10,000. Fir will have to grow at 12,000. The trees cannot go on. So what will happen? In natural process, these trees will perish and the new generation will come at a higher altitude. That will take 100 years. So this is the first impact. That the natural vegetation structure, that will, your water regime, suppose the water starts melting, okay, then your rivers will flood and the pine will flood. Everything is connected. If you see all our things, it is such a delicate balance that you tinker with any of the parameters, that will completely have a very serious impact on that.
And small question.
Yeah.
So, what you understood, like in last 115 years, there is a rising temperature of 1.1 degrees. And let's say in another 20 years, things will again change a bit. And we are putting a lot of effort in making conservation and control and such things. I wonder, let's say we succeed in making those conservation and quality controls. Will we go back what was like the original temperature, or we will just stay where we will be? Like
At that point, we are in such a hopeless condition. We want to remain, we want to minimize the damage.
Okay.
How much is there? Going back, question doesn't matter. We have to now, it's going up. Now we have to, it's accelerating. We want to slow down the acceleration. Then come to neutral. Then go in the negative direction. That's the pipe, the far ahead.
I have one comment to his question. If you look at the air quality index every day in the newspaper or even the internet, in Bhubaneswar, it's always greater than 100. And the main pollutants are actually the dust and the dander. So we are no longer safe. Bhubaneswar, which used to get very
Much
clean,
better than the rest of the country.
much better, but it is worsening. It is worsening.
Okay, so I have a question. I think you rightly pointed out an important aspect that always creating, apparatus is not necessarily a trivial solution. And I also read somewhere that it also matters what kind of trees you plant, where you plant, in what pattern you plant. That also kind of affects the carbon dioxide absorption. Is that correct?
Actually, plantation is a very minuscule part. If you consider nature, what is there in nature, plantation is just not even 1%. It is much less than whatever you plant for that. But at the same time, I tell you, consider this landscape. So this is a wooden furniture. This is a wooden table. Wood is carbon neutral. A tree is growing, absorbing carbon dioxide, converting carbon into wood, and that wood is the carbon is locked here. Unless you burn it, it is not going anywhere. So this is carbon neutral. Imagine had it been a steel table. You mine iron ore, you release carbon dioxide. You melt it, again you release carbon dioxide. Again mold it, again release carbon dioxide. So whether it is iron or aluminum or plastic has got huge carbon footprint. Whereas wood is reduced. Okay, so wood is good. In fact, sometimes we do things in a very stupidity. That we ban on trade milling, that there cannot be, nobody will use wood. There was a circular of state government sometime in 80s that nobody will use wooden frame doors and use iron. Iron has a much bigger carbon footprint. Wood is a zero carbon neutral. Wood is good. That's why we say that I will give a slogan that wood is good. Use more wood, grow more wood, use more wood. That is our wood. So we have to grow more wood. Agriculture. You have to grow more. India is one of the biggest importer of wood. We will save on foreign currency. And who is importing? From all these African countries, Malaysia and all those things. So it's not like, it's like saying that we are in a ship. We are having the other end of the ship is leaking. I am saying. You are in the same ship, anyway you sing. So, we have to.
Each Salaga growing or decaying?
But Odisha is in a better position. Odisha's biggest problem is our shipping conditions.
But if we, we are trying to reduce carbon emission and there's all the restriction there, can we manage without using fossil fuel? Then Odisha will be the biggest loser, right?
No. Ultimately, you have Odisha will be the loser. And the composition of energy source will shift from carbon to non-conventional, not solar. Only problem they are getting is the storage. Some batteries, all those things. Those have to go. The storage is the problem.
Okay, so thank you so much. Very